may be seated. Shalom, shalom, and shalom. Yasharala.
Shalom.
How y'all doing? Shabbat shalom. Shalom to everybody in the buildings, and also shalom to everybody online. Let's get into it. The title of this Sabbath's lesson is The Science of the Willie Lynch Syndrome. The Science of the Willie Lynch Syndrome. How many of y'all up in here are suffering from the Willie Lynch Syndrome? Raise your hand. All right, for sure. How many of you guys up in here are not suffering from Willie Lynch Syndrome? Raise your hand. Some of y'all not sure, huh? All right, let's get into it. Let's go to the book of Baruch. Skip Baruch chapter 2. Let's read 4 and 5.
Book of Baruch in the Apocrypha, chapter 2, verse 4. Moreover, he had delivered them to be in subjection to all the kingdoms that are round about us.
So, talking about the Heavenly Father, the Most High, he delivered us into the hands of each and every kingdom on the face of this earth. All right? Why? Because of our disobedience. Go ahead.
Moreover, he had delivered them to be in subjection to all the kingdoms that are round about us, to be as a reproach and desolation among all the people round about, where the Lord has scattered them.
Go ahead.
Thus we were cast down and not exalted, because we have sinned against the Lord our power, and have not been obedient unto his voice.
So, a lot of people don't like to hear this. When you talk about our people, it's crazy. I had ended up in a conversation with a few women. They were Israelite women, but obviously they didn't recognize themselves as Israelites. And as I sat in doing my business, ended up in conversation. And it's crazy because a lot of our people will not acknowledge, some of them will even acknowledge, yeah, okay, we've been lied to, you know, it's more to our history. But they do not want to, and they may even acknowledge that they're Israelites, that we come from, you know, the children of Israel. But what you'll find is many of them, they do not want to acknowledge it to the point where they become accountable for keeping the Most High's laws. That becomes the issue. The thing is, our people not only need to know who they are, they not only need to know that they are of the seed, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they need to understand why exactly did our forefathers go into captivity? Why were our forefathers and foremothers brought into captivity specifically in this land? Because this is who I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to the children of Israel right now and here that happen to be in this land. But who knows? We got folks online. I know we got brothers and sisters in Ghana and other different parts of the earth. With all of that being said, the Bible says we were taken into all of the different nations on the face of this earth. But what our people don't recognize is we went into captivity. We went into slavery, not because we got picked on. Not because we got randomly chosen, but because what? Because we refuse to keep the laws of the Heavenly Father. To this day, brothers will be out there tomorrow, well actually today, later on today, on the Shabbat, crying out loud on the street corner, right? Prophesying to the wind, as the scriptures say, right? And for all of that, what percentage of our people will actually take heed to what we're saying? All right, go from there. As a matter of fact, let's get into it. Pull it up. The Willie Lynch letter. How many of you guys are familiar with the Willie Lynch letter? Okay, all right. The Willie Lynch letter. The making of a slave. How many of y'all still a slave? Some of y'all ain't sure. Y'all looking at me like, where are you going with this? All right. So I kind of got it up here so you guys can read along, but I'm going to skip through it. All right. I'm going to start at the top, though. It says, this speech was delivered by Willie Lynch on the bank of the James River in the colony of Virginia in 1712. Lynch was a British slave owner in the West Indies. He was invited to the colony of Virginia in 1712 to teach his methods to slave owners there. The term lynching is derived from his last name, all right? So now, let's get something out the way. You have a lot of people that will debate whether or not Willie Lynch was an actual person, whether or not he actually existed, and if this was indeed a letter that came specifically from this man named Willie Lynch, or maybe this letter came from another source. Either way, we can agree that this letter came about during that time. So it doesn't matter if the man's name was Willie Lynch or whatever the case may be. What we're going to find out is that everything that this man or this person or these individuals put into this letter made a whole lot of sense. And it made way too much sense for anybody to look at it as not relevant. All right. So I call this class the science of the Willie Lynch syndrome. What is science? Science, if you break down science in layman's terms, science is how anything works. All right. So this letter literally breaks down how to successfully enslave a people. All right. So y'all better snap on your seatbelts. I don't think you know how personal it's going to get. All right, for sure. We could start off actually, from the top.
All right, it says, gentlemen, I greet you here on the banks of the James River in the year of our Lord, 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I'm here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experience with some of the newest and still oldest methods for control of slaves.
So this particular individual was letting it be known. He said he got an invitation. You had different colonies that were having issues with their slaves, of controlling their slaves, getting production out of their slaves, right? And he happened to be from the West Indies. How many of you guys know where the West Indies is at, or roundabout? All right. And one of the reasons why they called him was because he had some success and he was experienced in all the different methods. Like he said, some of the newest and still the oldest methods for control of slaves. So remember, the Bible asked the question, it says, is Israel a homeborn slave? So that question indicates what? We've been in slavery so many different times that he had to ask us the question. He said, you got a slave mentality. A lot of you guys, you forget, you think that this is your first time in slavery. This is not our first rodeo with slavery. We've been into captivity after captivity after captivity after captivity. And we've been in captivity, captives of almost every nation on the face of this earth. We've even captured one another at a time. So with all of that being said, throughout all of the different ages, they went back and saw the things that were successful and also other nations' slaveries, which none of the nations went through any type of slavery the way we've gone through the different enslavements that we've been through. But they looked, documented, and scrutinized each and every one of those captivities that we went into. And they were able to see, and that's the thing that you got to understand. This is not like them taking random methods from different situations dealing with different people, right? Let me ask you a question. Would it be easier to learn more about an individual specifically on a personal level, if you know that you're going to be working with that individual to have some success? Or would it be a better idea for you to work with 1,000 different people, knowing that at the end of the day, you're only doing that to work with one person? Which way do you think will work in terms of you being able to really find out that person's likes, wants, desires, dislikes, so on and so forth? Which do you think would be more suitable? Okay, makes sense, right? So the same thing with the children of Israel. They were actually able to look at all these captivities that we had gone into as a people and look at all the things that were able to work and all the things that were unsuccessful, things that were a little successful, things that were more successful. And he took all of these things, scrutinized them, and said, all right, I got the perfect game plan. That's the thing that we don't understand. Like, even when you listening to your radio station, when you bumping your YG, when you into whatever you into, you don't realize that they got a special program for you. They know how to get to you. They know the things you like. Even in terms of these different, the Asians, the Koreans, so on and so forth. I know what you like. They know exactly what you like. They go to school over there and they're taught what you like. They come here, they know the slang. I seen somebody post on Facebook. They had an official textbook in the classroom, and in the textbook they had regular English, and then they had Ebonics. They said, you know what, they might relate more to if you talk to them like this. I think it was like, oh man, it was some shameful stuff. It was some shameful stuff. But they learn, they say, okay, what do the children of Israel like? And if you look at the stats, you'll find out that we are always the biggest consumers pretty much everywhere we go. We make the money and we spend the money. As much as we make, we spend more. All right. And they bank on it. All right. Go on.
And that's interesting that he said that they, I forgot what website that I seen. I think it was on Forbes or something, a Wall Street Journal. But they said that the so-called black, or we'll just say Israelite market is like $44 billion is what we contribute to the economy worldwide. So we're not broke. That ain't the problem. We spending it on frivolous and foolish stuff, but it just goes to what the brother was saying in regards to the value that we bring to society, but we don't understand our value though.
Man, indeed. Go ahead.
I've experimented with some of the new.
Pull that back up there, fellas. We left on the last sentence of that first paragraph, ancient Rome.
Oh, ancient Rome, I got you. Ancient Rome would envy us if my program is implemented.
So you see that? He made the statement. He said, ancient Rome would envy us if my program is implemented. He didn't say if my program works, because he already was assured, he knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that if it was implemented, it was definitely going to work. But if you read this statement and you don't know anything about the slavery of ancient Rome, then this won't have any significance to you, all right? How many of you guys are actually familiar, or at least somewhat familiar, with the captivity of ancient Rome? Okay. Let me ask a question, trivia question. Who's most notably recognized as the most important slave of that captivity? Not a people, but I'm talking about one specific person. He wasn't, well, he was in a state of illegal policing, but we're talking about someone that was actually taken and changed in this particular respect. Because really that Roman captivity really kicked off after the siege of 70 AD. So who was the most notable? God, I'm pretty sure as soon as I say it, you're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I heard of him. Spartacus. How many of you guys have heard of Spartacus? All right. And yes, Spartacus was not an Edomite. You look at the history of the Roman captivity and how they got down, they were pretty cruel. But they had some flaws in their captivity, and that was one of the reasons why it was, I wouldn't use the word easy, but it was far more, we had far more success at breaking that captivity in a shorter amount of time than we've had in breaking this captivity. Because one thing about it, they had gladiators. Spartacus was a gladiator. And as a gladiator, you were able to make a name for yourself and end up winning the hearts of the people, all right? And he became a notable figure and led a rebellion, so on and so forth. But go do your research. With this particular captivity, they was like, we cannot let Rome fall again. We got to make sure we got a skin-tight method for how to enslave this people, all right? All these other captivities only lasted so long. So we got to do some things different. We got to tighten up, all right? So go ahead, let's read the next part.
As our boat sailed south on the James River, named for our illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish.
Now, who do you think they talking about? Making reference to who? King James. Yeah, they making reference to him. All right, go ahead.
I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords...
So hold on. He said, I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique, meaning it's an easy fix. How was it an easy fix for him? Because the answer was in the King James Bible. You got to read between the lines. He was saying, look, it's the reason why we follow this King James Bible and we hold to that specific translation. All of the answers to our problems happen to be in here, which we'll go into in a moment. Go ahead.
I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its old highways in great numbers.
So it wasn't just Yahweh Shai. They did that to our people at large. They would hang us up on crosses, right, on trees. But even though the method changed a little bit, it was still the same concept. That's why the scriptures say, cursed is he who hangeth on a tree. Who's known for hanging on trees? Israelites. Go ahead.
While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its old highways in great numbers, you were here using the tree and the rope on occasion. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple of miles back. You are not only losing valuable stock by hangings, you are having uprisings. Slaves are running away. Your crops are sometimes left in the fields too long for maximum profit. You suffer occasional fires. Your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know.
Yeah, hold on one second. So what was he telling them? He said, look, and that's what y'all got to understand. That's crazy because we don't know how to hate. People get mad at you because you say something. You say something, you get mad and you vent on Facebook and they be like, oh, you're so wrong. Don't say that. They're good white people. And I'm serious. And then some of y'all probably actually feel so bad about it. You ain't did nothing to nan white person. You done said something, but they killing us on a day-to-day basis. But you know what? What's so crazy about our enemies, the Edomites? They say it's not enough to just kill y'all. It's not enough to kill Latinos and blacks and Native Americans and Israelites scattered abroad. They say, look, we got to make money off of your death. And we got to make money before you die. I got to make money off of you. They make money off of us on every single level. They make money off of your birth. How much money do they make off of birth? Any of my mothers know? Huh? 5,000 for what? Okay, so that's not all that they make off of your birth. That's just for the birth certificate, or if it's a C-section or cesarean, right? That's 5 to 15 right there. What about the birth certificate and the Social Security? How much are they making off of that? You go into debt automatically. I know some of y'all done heard about that, how you can cash out on that. How much money do they really make off of your life? How much do they make money not healing you but treating you? How much money do they make when they put stuff in the air to get your kids sick and to get you sick? Poison your food, dilute your water with fluoride, and then you got to come back. How much are they really making off of you? Taxation. How many times do you get taxed over? 3 and 4 times. How much money do they actually make off of us?
Hold it. He's in the spirit too, because I was fact checking, making sure I put the right numbers out there. I didn't put the right numbers out there, so let me correct myself. The 44 billion was calculated about Generation Z, which I guess is the millennials. But let me just read a couple of things on how much we're in the billions. This is not 44, right? Now, this is on Nielsen. Nielsen do all kind of ratings and stats and whatnot. It said black consumers and consumers of color alike are making considerable contributions. This is based on 2017 numbers. They don't have 2018 yet. Contributions to the overall market. For example, half of the total spend, $941 million on dry grains and vegetables in 2017 came from consumers of color. Black consumers represented $147 million total spent in this category. So fruits and grains, $147 million. African Americans cornered the ethnic hair and beauty market, ringing up $54 million of the $63 million total industry. That's just hair. In fact, in terms of sheer dollars, African Americans spent considerably more money in the general beauty marketplace last year. Black shoppers spent $473 million in total hair care, a $4.2 billion industry, and made other significant investments. Personal appearance products such as grooming aids, $127 million out of $889 million. Skin care, $465 million out of $3 billion. Personal soap and bath needs, $573 million. Feminine hygiene products, $54 million. Men toiletry, $61 million. Do I need to go on? Wow. That's what we spending. That's just on grooming.
And that ain't even dealing with...
Good Lord. We ain't even talking about all the damn McDonald's and Taco Bell and Nikes and every damn thing else that we want. Hennessy. I mean, good Lord.
And
out of control.
And in the black market. Then they profit off of your death too. Take your organs. Let's go from there. Go to Ecclesiastes, chapter 33. So he gave him some game. He was like, look, man, y'all lynching them, and you ain't getting your profits. You ain't getting your money out of them.
Look, it said, we spent $810 million on bottled water. I'm guilty. 810. But listen, it's just like you said, we drinking poison.
Yeah.
The water got fluoride in it, antibiotics, sterilants, all kind of birth control. It's all kind of crap going on. And that water ain't even too much better, but it's better than turning on the faucet and suffering the Flint, Michigan situation.
Shoot, Compton.
For real.
Yeah, dirty water in Compton and in parts of Gardena. Some of y'all live in Compton. She looking alarmed like a mug. She like, what? Compton? Yeah, they had some brown water in Compton too.
Yeah, Gardena too. It was bad.
Ecclesiastes chapter 33, and let's get 24 through 31.
Ecclesiastes 33:24. Fodder and wand and burdens are for the ass, and bread, correction, and work for a servant.
He said, bread, correction, and work. Make sure they got something to eat, right? Make sure you correct them, and make sure you put them to work. Go ahead.
If thou set thy servant to labor, thou shalt find rest.
So if you got a servant, in this case we're talking about a slave, right? And you set him to work, then you're going to find rest. Read on.
But if thou let him go idle, he shall seek liberty.
If they ain't got enough to do, slaves going to try to find a way to get out. They use this same method in modern day slavery. They call it the new Jim Crow in the prison system. You guys are at least a little aware of what they're doing to our people in the prison system, right? The alarming numbers of how many of our people, Israelites, blacks, Latinos, right, that are actually caught up, many that are innocent in the prison system, and they're caught up doing slave labor for pennies on the dollar. All right? With all of that being said, they implement this same thing in that situation. They say put them to work. Because the more you let them be idle, the more they're going to try to figure out ways to escape. All right? And sometimes the thing that we got to understand, it's not always just physically escaping. It's also mentally escaping. That's the thing. A lot of us, we don't even value out here. We think we're physically free. Therefore, we assume that we're mentally free. And we're in more mental bondage out here than many of the people that are in prison are. Go ahead.
Send him to labor, that he be not idle. For idleness teacheth.
Give me number 26 again.
I'm sorry. A yoke and a collar do bow the neck.
So the Bible says a yoke and a collar does bow the neck. That's exactly what they did to our people. They put yokes of iron on us. They put collars on us. Chains. Go ahead.
So are tortures and torments for an evil servant.
Said tortures and torments for an evil servant. All right? An evil servant in their eyes concerning us would be somebody who wasn't trying to work. Somebody who was trying to get away. Somebody who was trying to give them problems. Somebody who was trying to keep their identity, keep their culture. That was a threat to everything else they had going on with their other slaves. So they did what? They tortured us. They beat us. They did the most heinous things that you could possibly not even come up with in your minds. You don't even have a mind that can think of things that so-called white folks, Edomites, have done to us. I saw a picture, which I already knew this, but they had a picture of some leather bags, right? Because I spoke about this a few times recently, but I actually saw a picture and I saved it in my phone. It was like 4 different bags, and they had the actual faces of the slaves that were skin pulled off of the skull and made leather and sold into a bag. Yeah, y'all ain't hearing me. Y'all think I'm making this up, huh? It was known that they would take the scrotum ball sacks of men and use them as coin pouches. And they would also take the libias of women's parts and use them as little leather trinkets. Facts, as my boy Iran would say. And they would also use our skin. They would kill us and use our skin for not only bags, but for shoes. You ever saw that picture with all of the, we call it buffalo, but they were really bison. All of the bison that our forefathers, the 10 tribes, actually had, that Esau, out of spite, killed the vast majority of them and had them all in this pile. You ever saw that picture? They said, well, we don't have that for leather, so we're going to use you. Wicked. But go ahead. 27.
Send him to labor, that he be not idle.
So send him to labor so that he be not idle. Read on.
For idleness teacheth much evil.
Idleness teacheth much evil. In our case, us as slaves, when we was idle, we was trying to figure out a way to read, trying to figure out what we needed to find. We was trying to read this. Because earlier on in our captivity, we had many of our people who knew that this was what they needed to read. So because they have the English translation predominantly over here, they didn't have languages that some of them spoke. They were doing everything that they could to try to learn how to read so that they could get the guidance and the comfort that they needed to get from the scriptures. And they was like, nah, we ain't giving you guys no time, just like they don't give you time today. How many of y'all work? How much time do you get to meditate on these scriptures? How much time do you get to really figure out and go in depth to figure out some things that you might be a little bit confused with? How many of you guys actually get the chance to really do the type of building that you need to do with your family and your relationships? And it's all by design. Your kids are being raised by your enemies, taught and cultivated by your enemies. Because you don't have the time, because you got to do what? You got to work. And by the time you finally get home, you too tired to do anything that's of any value to your family because you done gave Esau everything. Go ahead.
Set him to work as is fit for him. If he be not obedient, put on more heavy fetters. Be not excessive toward any, and without discretion do nothing.
So this goes into what he was talking about. He said, be not excessive toward any, and without discretion do nothing. So he's saying, look, if there's no need for being excessive, don't be lynching them and doing the extras when you can utilize them. You just got to know how to utilize them. Go ahead.
If thou have a servant, let him be unto thee as thyself, because thou hast brought him with a price.
See, that's the thing. You look at LeBron James right now. A lot of y'all, oh, I love me some LeBron. LeBron, he got it going on. He be doing everything for the youth and this and that. You think LeBron's so free. And I'm not saying anything bad about the contributions that this brother is making for his people. I'm not judging that, but what I'm saying to you is LeBron ain't free. LeBron has to do what those that pay his paycheck tell him to do. LeBron can only give to those who he's allowed to give to, believe it or not. The same way that Oprah is only allowed to give to those who they allow Oprah to give to. Same reason why many of our people get in trouble, because they try to do certain things and they like, nope, we told you to take that to Africa. Go ahead.
If thou have a servant, entreat him as a brother, for thou hast need of him, as of thine own soul. If thou entreat him evil, and he run from thee, which way wilt thou go to seek him?
So that's why you had a whole lot of runaway slaves, because they weren't exercising that at first. Now they exercise that. Y'all still slaves. We all still slaves. Literally. You still bear the last name that shows you a slave. You got the numbers on you to show that you a slave. You paying taxes to show that you a slave. How you own something, but you got to pay taxes? Think about it. How you got to register something that belongs to you? It's like if I stopped you at the door and said, all right, hold on, you got to register them shoes before you come in here. I need $20 for them shoes. You probably say, nigga, please. I'd be doggone if I give you $20 for my shoes. I done bought these shoes and paid some. So how come we got to register and we got to pay extra money on all these different things that we got to pay for when they tell us that we own these things? What kind of sense do that make? You a slave. You still caught up. Read on. Was that all of that?
That was it.
All right, go from there. Go to, stay in Ecclesiastes. Give me 7:20 through 21.
Ecclesiastes.
Chapter 7. Verse 20 and 21. Y'all all right? All right, I ain't trying to bore you.
And just for a reference point, about historically, what he was talking about, making bags and stuff from human skin. You guys, and who's seen Silence of the Lambs? That movie. You know that the character was based off a real person? All right. If you don't, write his name down. Edward Gein. This dude was taking the skin from females, made custom-made furniture, skulls for bowls. He was doing all kind of stuff. But showing you the sadistic mind state of our enemy when he'll take your skin and then reupholster his furniture with it. He'll use your skull for a bone. He's using female skulls for lampposts and all kind of stuff. I mean, this dude was out of control. But that's the devil for you.
Wicked, man.
If you don't think he'll go to those lengths, there go your example. Just one of them. Man. Sirach 7, verse 20. Whereas thy servant worketh truly, entreat him not evil, nor the hireling that bestoweth himself wholly for thee. Let thy soul love a good servant and defraud him not of liberty.
So that's why a lot of y'all don't think you slaves, or you feel good being a slave. You a good slave. You love to go to work for the man. Love your job. How many of y'all love your job? Keep it real. You at least love that paycheck. Raise your hand. You love being a servant. Go from there. Give me Proverbs 29:21. As long as you get to go to occasional concert, Lakers game, get your nails done, your nails did. Brothers, get your hair cut. You feel like a king, a boss, don't you? Proverbs 29:21.
Book of Proverbs 29, verse 21. He that delicately bringeth up his servant from a child.
See, now this the cold part right here. He that delicately bring his servant up from a child. Go ahead.
Shall have him become his son at the length.
A lot of y'all done became Esau's son and daughters. That's why people love the white man. He finally realized what he needed to do. He made you feel like you was a part of the family. He let you sit down and pee and boo-boo on the same toilet as him. You felt good about that. He let you sit at the same table as him. You felt good about that. He let you come into some of the same places, sit on the same part of the bus, and you felt good about that. He still don't pay you what he paid himself, but he give you the illusion that he do, and you feel good about that. He let you see the LeBrons and the Beyoncés, even though they got to sell out and do homosexual stuff to get where they at, but you feel good about that too. And he got you feeling like, oh, it's all good, man. He ain't never did me harm. And when I was down, he gave me all kind of government assistance. I get EBT. SSI. I ain't saying nothing wrong if you get it. But no, you getting it, but don't feel like you owe him no favors. That's crazy. People work jobs and they feel like they owe the people that employ them something. If you've been employed, basically you're a servant, right? And it's only two things that you can sell in this world. You can sell a service or a product. If I'm in that situation offering my time and my service and you're paying me, and mind you, they only paying you what, 14, some of y'all getting 20 something. $20, an hour of your life that you will never get back is only worth $20. What's minimum wage? Huh? You only, an hour of your time is only worth that much that you'll never get back. Think about it. And then you be feeling like you owe them something. I don't owe y'all nothing. You really robbing me. You robbing me. But go ahead. Was that all of that?
That was it.
That was all I needed. Let's go ahead and read from Gentlemen. Pull it back up. Gentlemen. You can skip to I have a foolproof method.
I have a foolproof method?
Yep.
Got you. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves.
Woo! He said, I got a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. Go ahead.
I guarantee every one of you that is, if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years.
For at least 300. Did it work? Go from there. Let's just show you real quick. Genesis 15. 13 through 14 real quick.
Genesis 15, verse 13.
Yep.
And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs.
He said, know for a surety. That's for sure. Ain't know it might happen, but it's gonna happen. A lot of people thought that this was the original Egypt. Well, we wasn't no slaves in Egypt for 400 years. But guess where we've been slaves at for about 400 years? Yeah, real talk. Go ahead.
In the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance.
And we coming out with every Bugatti, every man, give me some of them cars. We coming out with everything. I need it all. Hostile takeover. Give me that. Pocket check. Righteously grimy. Give me all of that. I need that. Everything that you took from us and more, I need all of that back. Go from there. Go to, let me show you, because some of y'all say 300, 400, like, go to Revelation. It said for at least 300. Revelation chapter 11, verse 3 and 4.
Revelation chapter 11, verse 3. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days.
So when you break that down, that breaks down to 350. And it's really talking about years. And these 2 witnesses are talking about who? It's talking about the northern and southern kingdom of Israel. Go ahead.
Clothed in sackcloth.
Clothed in sackcloth, meaning what? Going through affliction. Afflicted. All right? We've been afflicted here in America. Jeremiah 50 and I think 33 says that the 2 kingdoms would be oppressed together. And that's exactly what's been happening. Go ahead.
These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the power of the earth.
So tell me that they wasn't looking at the Bible, scrutinizing like, man, it's going to work for sure. Facts. Go from there. Let's get back to that.
My method.
You could drop down to that last, the last 2 sentences. I have outlined a number of differences. Right below that 300.
Okay. I've outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger.
He said, I take these differences and I make them bigger. Meaning what? Little differences that we wouldn't really trip off of. He said, I'm gonna make these differences a issue amongst this people. Because that's the thing. When you look at our people, like, I ain't even got to say no disrespect. I could keep it 100. It's crazy because they say things like Israelites, like out of the Israelites, like black people per se. All right. They say we all look alike. Now that's the furthest thing from the truth. All black people look alike. Now a lot of Asians look alike. If anything, they got a similar look. Not all of them, but they probably got more, you know, we more like pit bulls and they more like Rottweilers. Like, you know, it ain't too much variation in how Rottweilers look. You're going to get a same Rottweiler. But with Israelites, look around you. We come in every color. Different color eyes, different color hair, different hair texture. Right? Some of us got skinny noses, some of us got some fat noses, some of them pointy, some of them flat. Some of us look good, some of us are, no, I'm playing. All my people beautiful. I'll be the ugly one. We come in all of these different varieties, right? But they said that they was going to take all these little things and start making a big deal out of it. You ever seen that, I forgot that experiment with that white lady, and she wanted to show her people how it felt to be discriminated against and to be treated, you know what I'm talking about, sister back there shaking her head, right? And she, instead of doing the color of the skin, she did the color of the eyes. And she discriminated against people with lighter colored eyes, with the people with the blue eyes and the people with the green eyes. And then the people with the brown eyes They was the superior people. And man, them Edomites was up in there breaking down, having meltdowns and crying and set tripping on each other. They bought into it quick. So these are psychological methods that are known to work. Go ahead.
I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes.
And do they not still use those same three things? Our people have so much fear. We fear everything. We fear truth more than we fear lies. Edomite said, he said, it's easier to trick somebody, to lie to somebody than it is to get them to believe that they've been lied to. Man, these Edomites are cold. Another Edomite said that the darkest of lies is a lie that has truth in it. Cold-blooded.
That's a white lie.
That's a white.
Even they classify. They even tell you that's a little white lie. Why you? What do you mean white? I tell you how they roll, man. They say we even got classification how we lie.
Man, cold.
We're the authors and the authors and the finishers of it.
Cold-blooded. And the fear that our people have, we got a fear of everything. A lot of y'all want to do your own business, but you're afraid to take a step. You're afraid to spend your money because you don't think that you're going to be. We scared of everything. We fearful in everything. We fearful in correcting each other. We fearful in not correcting each other. We fearful to do the wrong thing, and we fearful to do the right thing. We fearful of everything. Straight up. Then it says distrust. We got a whole lot of distrust going on amongst our people. Sisters have a hard time distrusting sisters, and brothers got a hard time distrusting brothers, and the brothers and the sisters don't distrust each other, and they married to each other. Straight up. And then envy, whole lot of envy. What you envious for? We envious of each other for no good reason. Go to a couple of scripts. Give me Proverbs 1 and 24. I want 24 through 31.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 1, verse 24.
Yep.
Because I have called and ye refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. But ye have set at not all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh.
It's the Most High speaking. He hot. I know some of y'all done had that conversation. All right, I was trying to help you out. You wasn't even trying to get my help. So when you get in trouble, don't say nothing to me. I'm going to laugh at you. Most High was hot. He like, I'm going to laugh at you. I ain't going to answer you. When I was trying to help you, you wasn't trying to reach your hand out. You wasn't trying to hear me. So go and serve ask them other guys to save you. Go ahead.
When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you.
He told us fear, and when that fear comes, go ahead.
Then shall they call upon me.
That's when you going to call me. And you best believe, when slavery was happening, which is still happening, but when that part of slavery was happening, who you think we was calling? He said, and I ain't listening. Because a lot of our people, well, if it was really a God, then why didn't he answer? Why didn't he do this? If it's really a God, then why? Because God ain't trying to hear you right now. And in some cases, it really pains him because he look and he say, man, I don't want my people. I don't want my children going through the things that they're going through. But I got to teach them a lesson. I done let them get away with so much. How many of y'all got kids? A lot of times you really don't want to whoop your kid. Sometimes every now and then you might have a moment where it's a little fun. You chastise them or whatever. But for the most part, it's a lot of times where we don't want to whoop our kids. We don't want to discipline them, right? But if we know what's good for them, we'll follow these scriptures and we do what we got to do, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes you let them go with certain things in hopes that they're going to get it right. You let them go, you let them go. And then you start realizing that they keep on pushing the envelope to where you finally got to lay down a judgment. And when you lay down that judgment, you can't back up off of it. It got to be what you said it's going to be so that they could get the point. And that's exactly the state that we were in and that we're still in. We like at the end of our punishment, like our punishment about to be over. How many of y'all see old school? We was talking about that new school punishments, like kids don't get punished like they used to. We used to get real. You be on punishment for a month, a real month, not not no business days in a month. I'm talking about every day, 1 through 7, you was on punishment. You talking about you was in your room, you was really in your room. Kids today, like, you know, it's TV everywhere. Mamas is going to different places and stuff. Ain't nobody at the house. You got to go with mama and them. It ain't the same no more. Like, we was really on real deal punishment. For real, for real. Man, they don't know about that real punishment. Most High said, y'all on real punishment, and I'm not letting up until it's time. Go ahead.
When your fear cometh as desolation and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when your distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord.
They didn't choose to keep these commandments. He says, so I'm going to ignore you. I ain't got nothing to do with you right now. Go ahead. Because we do that sometimes with our kids. They be, I'm sorry. I don't want to hear that. Go. Get out of my face. Go ahead.
For that they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof.
Go ahead.
Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices.
Go to Deuteronomy 28 and 65.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 65.
Yep.
And among these nations thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind.
Man, we were just made fearful here in America. And it's crazy because we still fearful. It ain't like we was just fearful when we was going through what was called chattel slavery, when the conquistadors was here. We still in fear. Literally, every time when I leave up out of here right now, as we leave here tonight, best believe, brothers, we know it's a couplet. Well, not even just brothers, sisters too. But let's just speak about the brothers for a moment. You even more inclined to get pulled over, messed with, hassled, and possibly even shot by the police. And if that ain't enough, you got to be careful and cognizant about your own people. Might be tripping over here at the liquor store. You don't know what's going to be happening. That's the life of being an Israelite. But you got Edomites that can walk up and down these streets and they don't get touched. It's 2 Edomites that be chilling right over there. They be looking suspicious than a mug. Old Edomites, don't nobody mess with them. I be like, man, we get pressed in our own hood, but white folks could just, like the Mormons and stuff, they riding bikes and stuff in the hood. Talking about their elder, they be like 14 years old. Don't nobody mess with them. But we get pressed in the hood. Curses, man, straight up. It's like everywhere we go, we got to live in fear for our life. Women, y'all got to live in fear for your life. It shouldn't be like that. But these are the curses. Go ahead.
Verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would the Most High it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would the Most High it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
Man, he said, I'm gonna hit you with fear for real, and that's exactly what he gave us. We so fearful of so many different things, man. How many of y'all feel comfortable jogging in your neighborhood? All praise to the Most High for the few I seen. The vast majority of us, we don't. How many of y'all got bars on y'all windows? That's captivity. Straight up. Let's go ahead. Let's get back to to the letter. You can start at these methods.
These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On top of my list is age.
He said age. A lot of y'all like, man, age ain't really no big. Age is a real big deal. Because in this day and age, even now, young folks don't respect what the old folks got to say. That's right. They could care less about your wisdom that you're trying to bestow upon them. A lot of our young people, they can care less, and they feel like if you don't know the new song that's out, if you don't know that new Drake song, you don't know that new Cardi B, then what you saying ain't relevant. If you don't know the new dance, all of that weird stuff they be doing, then you not relevant. I'm tripping like, man, I still feel like I'm young, but I don't know what's going on. I see the kids doing all kind of new dances and stuff. You not relevant. But go ahead.
Age, but it is there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade.
Color or shade. He said, I'm going to make sure that I make a big difference between y'all colors and y'all shades. You a black nigga. Nigga, you black. And you blacker than black. That's all some of us heard all our life coming up. How many of y'all heard every black joke in the book? I done heard them all. The blackest of the blackest. And some of us, we heard every light joke and white joke. How many of y'all heard them coming up? You was light bright and you was this and you was, look, my little son. You ain't heard too many jokes yet, son, trust me. But man, we done heard them all, but they make a big difference. It's like the 10 tribes, like have such a hard time. Like we ain't the same people, and so-called black people, y'all ain't the same people. And then you got so-called black people that's lighter than a whole lot of the 10 tribes. Hair straighter than some of the so-called 10 tribes. More keen features in their face than some of the so-called 10 tribes. But because that person is recognized like they speak Spanish, you're like, nah, they ain't my people. How silly is that? I was like the people I was talking about earlier, one of the young ladies, she was light bright. And she was like, I'm black. I'm like, you the furthest thing from black. Like, do you really know what you are? Well, I'm going to stay black. I'm all black. Our people, man, but they made a big deal with these colors. Go ahead.
Let me just bring out one other point, too. Just flashing back to the age thing, because it's a big battle, you know, between old and young. And the more the young rebel against the old, that's why they do the face tats. They, you know, piercing up their bodies. They doing everything to try to separate themselves from anything that could be generational. That I didn't learn that from you. I didn't get that from you. We totally different. Look at my jeans. They skinny like tights. And we looking like, man, this another generation is feminine as hell. Like, what's wrong with these cats? But they're rebelling against the older. They like, look, that's where the battle is. They're going to show, look, I'm going to dress different than y'all do. Y'all wear that baggy stuff. We don't wear that. It's all tight here. They doing that. Next level on drugs. Man, y'all was only smoking weed and all of that back in your day. We doing weed, lean, pills. We doing it all. It's more rebelliousness, and that's where you see the battle of the age. They want to try to create their own lane, but doing it at a destructive pace to where they don't want to hear wisdom from an older cat that's like, look, y'all going the wrong way with this. Ah, let me alone, old head. You don't know what you're talking about. You too old to understand what's going on. Not really, we ain't even that old, but we looking at the time generation looking like, and it's happening at breakneck speed. That's why you see every little, and no, that's why they even, in rap, everybody is either young or little this. Why are they constantly trying to create an age gap to say, I'm little this, I'm young this, or it's about abusing some drugs or some, whatever they talking about. It's that bad, and then you get $1 billion industry that constantly pushes it and perpetuates that division. And then until we can break that gap to say, look, there ain't no big gap. Take some wisdom, take some understanding, and learn how to create a new path, but do it to where you actually are leading in a righteous fashion. Our people ain't leading, they just following. They following every little trend, and it's creating a big division between old and young. And that's big, but hey, he said this in 1712. He said 300 years, that's 2012. We're only 6 years out, so he said approximately at least it lasts 300 years. He's still going, best believe it, to this day, color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, size plantations, status on plantation, attitudes of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley on the
I'm from the south side, I'm from the east, nigga, I'm from the west. I mean, anything that could separate us. Go ahead.
The slaves live in the valley on the hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair.
Some of y'all got fine hair, some of you got coarse hair. I got good hair, you got bad hair. And that's silly than a mug. Somebody told me, they said, your hair cover your head, don't it? Then it's good hair. And I know some of y'all, you losing it up top, it's still good on the side. Go ahead.
Or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy is stronger than adulation, respect or admiration.
Man, they say distrust is stronger than trust. Stronger to get people to distrust each other. You can do a whole lot more damage than you can. And it's easier to cause people to distrust one another than it is for people to actually trust one another. It takes a lot to have people forge that trust between one another. And that's crazy because that's exactly what's happened with our people. Go ahead.
The black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands.
So he said it get to a point where once you implement this, you don't even have to worry about it. They'll carry it on. And that's exactly what we've been doing as a people, so-called blacks and Latinos. We've been carrying on this self-hate. We've been carrying on this distrust of one another. You know, we've been carrying on all of these bad traits when it concerns our people. But then our people love this so-called white man. Go ahead.
Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male.
Ooh, that's a big one. Go ahead.
And the male versus the female.
Because that's the one, once you get in the truth, like, you start being able to rectify the old male versus the young male, you start getting a little balance of that when you get into the truth, right? And then you kind of start getting a handle on the dark skin and light skin. You got some Israelites out there that be doing the most when it comes down to that. But for the most part, a lot of us, we get a handle on that. The one that we had the hardest time with is what? That female versus male and that male versus female. That's the one we be having a hard time with. Go ahead.
Distrust, you must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks.
Distrust all blacks. That's why they put that on Fox News and everything. Like, we do everything. We steal everything. They criminalize us, and there's no possibility of there really being any good blacks and Latinos. But we swear up and down that white folks are good by nature, but they've been continuously killing people everywhere they go. America will tell you in a heartbeat that we supposed to be nonviolent and turn the other cheek, but they will go and bomb Syria in 20 minutes. They bombing people on a day-to-day basis. Trump tweeting that my button is bigger than yours to what's his name? Ju Jang Chung. What's his name?
Who's that?
Yeah, the little fat dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, there you go. So Go ahead.
You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us.
Only us. You get that in the scriptures. You can write down Deuteronomy 28 and 48. How it says that we would be dependent on him for everything and want of everything.
That's right.
He said, I got to make sure. And you also can write down Isaiah chapter 30, verse 12 through 14. Scriptures say we trust in oppression. We trust in it. We trust in it so much that we write songs about it. Jake's be talking about like it's a badge of honor. Like, man, nigga, I've been in the pen. Whoa, nigga, I'm trapping. Whoa, females, I'm on the pole. That's oppression. And you trusting in that to get your money. That's sick.
Did you see that? I guess Nicki Minaj and Cardi get into a little fight, whatever the hell went on. More foolishness. But Nicki Minaj did some little interview, or she got a radio something. She was talking about how mortified she was at this big event with the upper echelon was there. Code word for white folks, where you done messed up, you know, and embarrassed me to where I can't brown nose them to get more opportunities for money. And it's like, damn, you supposed to be the queen of hip hop and got millions of dollars, and you still got a brown nose? These people? Yep. And worried about your self-image? That's where it's getting disgusting at. Where our people is continuously still being looked at. My kids, we were just talking about driving over here. They said you must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks. They talking about an experience they had in the store. Remember, it said your overseers. So even the nations, little gook store, I know Karatazar know what a gook is. That's an old school term for a Vietnamese or Asian. A gook, right? They got the store similar to Minister Society, following them around the store. Hurry up and buy, mad because you about to give them money. How are they going to be mad because you there to help patronize their business and get their money? They follow you around and you like, damn, I'm about to give you some money. You going to follow me around for that?
Man.
They had to leave, didn't buy nothing. I told them they did the right thing. But that's the type of thing that some brother just got shot because he was walking, trying to get into his house, and they thought he was a prowler, and they killed him. That's guilty until proven innocent. It's not the other way around for us. We're not innocent until proven guilty. Any brother, any sister got pulled up by the cops, they question you all day, every day. They slapping the cuffs on you. You asking them, what did I do? Just comply. I'll tell you in a minute. You already cuffing me. You already harassing me as if I did something. Are you resisting? No, I'm asking you the question. Stop resisting. Can I ask you? No. He's being tough. Slap the cuffs on him. He's resisting. Throw him in the back. And you're like, you pulled me over. My license registration is good. All my lights is functioning. You're not telling me what happened. Don't worry about it. You can talk about it at the station. Just as a harassment, just because they can, and they can make your life even more miserable because now you got to wait to get out, maybe even bail out. I mean, it's all ridiculousness. But all of them are trained to distrust all Israel. You're guilty just on sight.
Straight up. Straight up. Go ahead. Let's finish reading that.
Gentlemen, these kits are your keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensively for 1 year.
He said just for 1 year. And that's the thing that you guys got to understand, man. We underestimate how long it takes for these things to take effect. A lot of you guys don't realize the first couple of months of your child's life, essentially, they're not programmed. By that first year, you already did a whole lot of programming. So how are you programming your kids? We forget that. Go ahead.
If used intensively for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen.
they will remain distrustful of each other, wondering why we distrust each other so much. Because we learn that those, look at them babies over there. We learn at an early age how not to trust each other. Straight up. We learn how not to trust. Oh, man, I remember, I ain't going to even lie. Like, you know, now I know obviously who my people are. But I was, it was, well, put it like this. Ice cream trucks. How many of y'all used to go to ice cream trucks that came through the hood? All right. All right. How many of y'all been to a white ice cream truck? Yeah, I ain't seen too many of them. So we would rather go spend our, you know, money at a store, you know, yeah. But if the ice cream truck rolling through, you know, we still are people, but we'd rather go to a lot of the ice cream trucks that was owned by the 10 tribe, right? How many of y'all have actually been to an ice cream truck that was owned by a so-called Southern Kingdom, so-called black folk? They got the ice cream truck music, plus they got like some Boosie playing in the background. They got Young Jeezy and all of that. And man, I went to a so-called black ice cream truck, man, all it took was one time, man. Boy, that ice cream was so old. That ice cream was like 15 years old. I pull it out. Ice cream was old. I'm like, nah, never again. But how many times have you said that about these white businesses, these Asian businesses, these Arab businesses that have done you wrong, have talked to you crazy, and you still go in there and you patronize them? But let some blacks and Latinos do you wrong one time and you ain't messing with none of them no more. That's where that distrust comes in. You can also write down Isaiah chapter 11, verse 12 through 13. And you can write down Deuteronomy 28, 54, and verse 56 as well. As a matter of fact, let's go there real quick. 28, 54.
Deuteronomy 28:54.
Yeah.
So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother.
Eyes is evil toward his brother. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy because especially all of us wearing these red shirts, you might get pressed by your own because you got a red shirt on. Evil towards one another. Go ahead.
And toward the wife of his bosom.
And toward the wife of your... I can't stand that beat. I'm like, dang, ain't that the mother of your children? Like, dang, you talking like that? Man, she get on my motherfucking nerves. How many of y'all have experienced that or know people like that? Keep it real. Yeah. Go ahead.
And toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave.
Which he shall do what?
Leave.
He gonna leave? How many of y'all know people, men that done left their kids? I'm pretty sure most of y'all do. Verse 56.
The tender and delicate woman among you.
Now we talking about the woman. Go ahead.
Which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness.
Used to be a time where she wouldn't let her bare foot touch the concrete. Now they all barefooted. Feet dirty, calloused up. Ain't waiting for the man to, like in the cartoons, to lay his jacket down so you can walk over the puddle. Nah, nigga, I got it. Waiting on you. Go ahead.
In tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom.
Evil toward the husband of her bosom. You supposed to love this man. It's supposed to be your king. And you like, man, this nigga. Oh, man. You should be like, man, I can't wait till he come home. I can't wait to run his bath water. I can't wait to make him happy. I can't wait to do this. Like I can't wait till he go. Or at least go to sleep. Go ahead.
And toward her son and toward her daughter.
And toward the son and the daughter. Go ahead.
And toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet.
That's all I need. And toward her baby. Let's go back to the letter. Let's get that second paragraph under let's make a slave. Let us make a slave right there.
All right.
What do we need?
You talking about right? It was the interest? Bottom. Talking about here?
Yep.
Let us make a slave. What do we need? First of all, we need a black nigger man.
We need a nigger man.
I should have
A
emphasized
black
the
nigger
ER.
man.
Nigger.
Nigger
Man.
just mean black. A black man.
Nigger man.
Go ahead.
A pregnant nigger woman.
And a pregnant nigger woman, read.
And her baby nigger boy.
And her baby nigger boy. He had to make sure, boy. Go ahead.
Second, we will use the same basic principle that we use in breaking a horse, combined with some more sustaining factors. What we do with horses is what we break them from one form of life to another. That is, we reduce them from their natural state in nature.
We reduce them from their natural state in nature, meaning what? A lot of us, we only know a horse in its domesticated state. We don't know of horses in the wild. Have you ever seen a horse in the wild? And do you know where horses roam at in the wild? Can somebody name a country where they got a gang of wild horses? We only really know about them in their domesticated state, right? But when you see a horse in their wild state, they're a sight to behold. They're very, very powerful beasts. I seen this one wild horse run across the road, and it collided with this car, and it cut the car pretty much in half. And I'm pretty sure the horse might have sustained some injuries, but they seem to be minor because the horse ran through the car and kept going. That's a real Mustang. Horses are very powerful, right? And they are known to be hard to control when they're in the wild. But many people have taken them and domesticated them and broken them. You have to go through a process of breaking the horse. I know you guys have probably heard or read the story of, what is that, Black Beauty or something? The Black Stallion or something like that? What is it? Black Stallion? And how that horse was just, wasn't going to let nobody ride her or him or whatever, but the girl or something like that. So the thing about it is what he's making reference to, he said, go and do research on a wild horse because y'all are in similar nature to a wild horse. Now, when you got that horse and you got him broken, then we can ride you, you know, we can do whatever it is, we can do tricks, the whole nine. But when you got a wild horse, it's very difficult to control them because they're such a powerful beast. Go ahead.
When we do it with horses, we break them from one form of life to another. That is, we reduce them from the natural state in nature, whereas nature provides them with the natural capacity to take of their needs and the needs of their offspring. We break that natural string of independence from them and thereby create a dependency state.
Hold on. Said, whereas nature provides them with the natural capacity to take care of their offspring. That's the thing that you got to understand. Men, women, we naturally have what it takes to take care of our children. But our enemies put us in a situation where they take us out of our natural element. They don't allow the man to protect and guide his family and his children the way he is set up to do. They take that away from him. They do the same thing with the women. They take your ability to bring your child up in gladness, as the scripture says. To teach your sons to be brought up in the image of the Father. And to have regard and respect and honor towards the Father. Reverence towards the Father. Honor towards the Father. They take that away from you because you don't see your man in that light. Therefore, what you're going to see in a minute, because we're going to read it, you teach them not to see that man in that light. Go ahead.
So that we may be able to get them from useful production for our business and pleasure.
So that we can use them for our useful production, for our business and pleasure. Go from there. Go to, we're going to come right back to that. Wisdom of Solomon 15 and 12. Wisdom of Solomon 15 and 12.
Wisdom of Solomon 15, verse 12. But they counted our life as a but they counted our life a pastime.
You know what? They count our life as a pastime, meaning what? What do you do with during a pastime? What's pastime? What is pastime? Huh? All right. What are some of the things that you might do in your pastime? A lot of us, we do what? We watch. You watch sports in your pastime, right? Brother, you know, got a history. Professional, used to be a professional ball player, right? Look at LeBron. As much as that man is getting paid, he's for the enjoyment of who? Predominantly so-called white folks, people with money. They can go in their pastime and watch LeBron put a ball in a hole, in a hoop. And the thing is, I tell people this all the time. How much LeBron get paid? Then who cut his check? And how much they getting paid? Straight up. Go and then on top of that, if LeBron ain't the only $1 million employee on their team, then how much they really making? If they're able to cut all of these $1 million checks for all of their employees. Go ahead.
But they counted our life a pastime, and our time here a market for gain.
And a market for gain, everything. And that's exactly what they did to us and they continue to do to us. A market for gain. They got to figure out how they going to make money off of us. And they was like, y'all ain't worth no money to us being Israelites, so we going to make you niggers, and we going to make you Mexicans. We going to make you Latinos. We going to make you Hispanics. We going to make you Indians. You can call yourself Native American if you want to. We're going to put you as our mascots. Ooh, we're going to make fun of you, and we're going to have a good time in our pastime. That's what these bastards do. Straight up. Go ahead.
For say they, we must be getting every way, though it be by evil means.
He said we got to get it every way. I ain't just trying to get money. He said everything that we do, we got to get money from all angles. So let's go back to the letter real quick. Go ahead.
Cardinal principles for making a Negro. For fear that our future generations may not understand the principles of breaking both horses and man, we'll lay down the art. For if we are to sustain our basic economy, we must break and tie both of the beasts together, the nigger and the horse. We understand that short-range planning in economics results in periodic economic chaos, so that to avoid turmoil in the economy, it requires us to have breadth and depth in long-range comprehensive planning, articulating both skills and sharp perception.
Y'all don't know what the heck he just said, do you? Raise your hand if you knew what he was just talking about when he read that. In other words, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but he's saying, look, we had to figure out long-term how we were going to subjugate these people and make sure that they never have the same opportunities that we have economically so that we can keep them oppressed. Because if we don't, then they will find a way. They will find a way to rise up. And that's exactly what we were doing earlier on. I tell people all the time, post-emancipation, our people were doing extremely well economically to the point where they had to come and bomb our cities. Literally, and they called them riots, but these weren't riots at all. These were acts of terrorism. That's what they did to us, to the point they were like, man, we got to make sure We redlining, gerrymandering, everything that we possibly need to do to keep these people subjugated. Go ahead.
We lay down the following principles for long-range comprehensive economic planning. Both horse and nigger are no good to the economy in the wild or natural state.
Man, that's heavy right there. They said neither a horse or a nigger is any good in its wild state. That's why they get scared when they see you in your wild state, when they start seeing you grow that beard. Because you look like a female lion when you ain't got your beard. That's just like you see a lion and he cut off his mane. You're like, who that female lion right there? And you see him grow that beard, all of a sudden, they start feeling some kind of way. They get intimidated, like, dang, you looking like Kimbo Slice. Got that natural man coming back. And they fear the Israelite man. They see us coming back to our natural nature. They like, nah, it's bad for business. Go ahead.
Both must be broken and tied together for orderly production. For the orderly futures, special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the young offspring. Both must be crossbred to produce a variety and division of labor. Both must be taught to respond to a particular new language. Psychological and physical instruction of containment must be created for both.
Now that's heavy right there. In layman's terms, he said, man, we got to put the woman on a different frequency than the man. She got to respond to a different language than him. It doesn't necessarily mean a literal, physical, different language. But in turn, you know how sometimes we be like, man, I'm saying it to her and it makes sense to me. But it's like when I relay it to her, like she don't understand what the heck I'm saying. How many of y'all ever feel like that? You probably feel the same way about that way, right? Keep it real. You wonder why? Because it was literally strategically designed to be like that. Over time, they literally engineered to where our women would respond to a much different language, whether it be not only actual language, but body language, different signs and things of that nature versus what we naturally would respond to. What makes sense to us is different from what makes sense to you. Drop down if you can, find accordingly both wild horse and a wild.
I got you.
Okay, go ahead.
Accordingly, both a wild horse and a wild or natural nigger is dangerous even if captured, for they will have a tendency to seek their customary freedom, and in doing so might kill you in your sleep.
So they said, look, man, when you get that fresh out the wild nigga, he a dangerous one. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to read it all because time is creeping. But the whole concept was they was like, you know what we got to do is, I'm gonna read some of it for time's sake. It says, henceforth, the horse and the nigger must be broken. That is, breaking them from one form of mental life to another. Keep the body, take the mind. Keep the body, take the mind. In other words, break the will to resist. So when you look at it, even historically, you know, even our women taking their sons, oh, he gonna be a football star, he's strong, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he's strong physically, but mentally he's weak. He's ready to do everything that he can to impress his oppressor in hopes that they'll give him a chance at a multi-million-dollar contract so he can run the ball up the field or tackle somebody. And you just happy because you about to sit fat. But that's what we've been reduced to. Versus raising your son up to be a liberator. Raising your son up to be an avenger. That ain't happening today. Because what? Ain't nobody giving out no Nike contracts for that. LeBron giving big ups to Nike and all of that. But you wasn't jumping on the bandwagon before Nike said cool. Everybody cool with it now. Nike, oh yeah, Nike, they on the right side. Nike on this side. Nike can give a doggone about a nigga. They just know they've been making money off of niggas. So if I'm making money off of niggas, I'm going to keep making money off of niggas. Stocks went up because they like Nike know what they doing. You doggone right Nike know what they doing. It says, you must keep your eye and thoughts on the female and the offspring of the horse and the nigger. says, pay little attention to the generation of original breaking, but concentrate on future generations. Why would they say this? Because the original Israelites that they broke, they still knew who they were, and they still had problems. And they show you that in the movie Roots. Boy, they had to cut Kunta's foot off. Kunta's spirit, he was like, I know who I am. But all of them kids that was after that, they was like, oh, it's going to be a breeze because we going to take him out the way. Mama going to raise the kid in fear, and we got the kids from there. And we the product of those kids. That's why it's so rare to find us, the ones that want to rebel against everything that's out there. Because a lot of the people that you tell about this, they ain't dummies. They can see it's truth in it, but they don't want no problems. They don't want Master to start set tripping on them. Keep it 100. You that rebellious Negro. You that rebellious Mexican. And they say, I don't want no parts of that. Y'all might get caught. I'm going to read through some of this. You can write down some stuff. I'm going to read this real quick. Therefore, if you break the female mother, she will break the offspring in its early years of development. And when the offspring is old enough to work, she will deliver it up to you, for her normal female protective tendencies will have been lost in the original breaking process. Man, these bastards had it down to a science. Tell me that ain't what's happening with our kids today. That's exactly what's wrong with our people. You can write down 2 Ezra chapter 2, verse 15 and 7. As a matter of fact, let's go there real quick. 2 Ezra chapter 2. And I want 15 and then drop down to 17.
2 Ezra 2, verse 15. Mother, embrace thy children.
So he said, look, embrace your child. It's crazy because a lot of our mothers today, it's hard for you to figure out and to bring yourself to a point of really embracing your children. Why is that? Go on, get out the way. You go sit down somewhere. I'm tired. Give me some. Go watch some TV. Go ahead.
Mother, embrace thy children and bring them up with gladness.
Bring them up with what?
Gladness.
That ain't happening. Our kids, man, they finding gladness in things that really ain't nothing to be glad about. But we ain't doing everything that we can to bring them up in the way that they should be brought up. But watch this, read.
Make their feet as fast as a pillar.
It's the mother's job to make their feet as fast, meaning as stable and steady and rooted as a pillar. But how can you make them as a pillar when you ain't the pillar of rest that you supposed to be? Because you conflicted in your spirit because you still got the Willie Lynch syndrome. That's the problem. Go ahead.
For I have chosen thee, saith the Lord.
He said, I chose who?
Chosen thee.
He said, I chose you. I'm just a woman in the truth. I ain't really got. Man, you are appointed to raise up the prophets and prophetesses of tomorrow. Drop down to verse 17.
Fear not.
Fear what?
Fear not.
Our women are so scared. Some of y'all scared to stay at home by yourself. Go ahead.
Fear not, thou mother of the children.
The mother of the children. Read.
For I have chosen thee, saith the Lord.
He said, I chose you. Write down 2 Maccabees chapter 7, verse 20 through 23. Because that's the natural nature of our women. 2 Maccabees chapter 7, verse 20 through 23. The mother of the 7 sons, when she told them, she said, look, whatever you do, go ahead and give your life for this law. That's what we got to be on. We so caught up, and we got to be careful. We so caught up with telling our kids what they need to do to prepare to make a living that we forget about them being avengers, like the Bible say, being ready to give their life for this nation, being ready to put their enemies down under the ground, because that's what it's coming down to. And I know a lot of y'all don't like that kind of talk. You get a little bit afraid. You want to live in the Israelite, socialite type of situation. Why? You better enjoy it while it's good right now. But you better do your best to forge a relationship with your brothers and your sisters right now. because we got tough times ahead of us, and that's real. That's real right there. But check that out when you get the chance and read about that woman. Scripture says she made her decision with a manly stomach. She wasn't on no regular sensitive woman type stuff. She knew what it was. Let me read on. It says, completely break the female horse until she becomes very gentle, whereas you or anybody can ride her in her comfort. See, that's the thing. They want our women, and a lot of our women have become like that, where anybody can jump on and ride except for the one that's supposed to be. Yo, man, the minute he try to jump on and ride, it's a problem. Nigga, what you doing? You always want something. Why don't you go sit down somewhere? I'm tired. But when you go to work, your boss, oh, yes, whatever you need. You need more coffee? Or whatever you do at your job, because some of y'all are like, nigga, I ain't no. Whatever you do at your job, I guarantee, how many of y'all do a good job at working where you work at? Keep it 100. How many of y'all got jobs, but you don't give it your all at your job? Y'all for real? I bet y'all come up in there wherever y'all work at. I'm going to go. Y'all be the best employees up in there. But then come home and then you be set tripping at the house. How you going to clean up at your job, but you don't clean up at your house? I'm just calling it like it is. If it ain't you, then don't be offended. Notice I say, if it ain't you, don't be offended. If you are offended, then I still love you. All right, let's read. Breed the mare with the stud until you have the desired offspring. Then, and that's exactly what they did with us. They bred us. It says, then you can turn the stud to freedom until you need him again. And of course, that would make the women resent the men. This nigga get to go. I'm stuck with the kids. I'm here, and he ain't nowhere. He ain't doing that. Train the female horse whereby she will eat out of your hand, and she will in turn train the infant horse to eat out of your hand also. Our women are trained to eat out of Esau's hands. And then when we put our hand out, they be like, that's all you got? Says, when it comes to breaking the uncivilized nigger, use the same process, but vary the degree and step up the pressure so as to do a complete reversal of the mind. Take the meanest and most restless nigger, strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male niggers, the female and the nigger infant, tar and feather him, tie each leg to a different horse faced in opposite directions, set him afire, and beat both horses to pull him apart in front of the remaining nigger. The next step is to take a bullwhip and beat the remaining nigger male to the point of death in front of the female and the infant. Don't kill him, but put the fear of God in him, for he can be useful for future breeding. So they would take the worst of the worst, the one that everybody would rally behind, and they would kill him in the most excruciating way possible, burning, pulling him apart, tarring, feathering. And they like, man, well, he was, you know, you ever had that one that was riding, you was like, I'm riding with her or I'm riding with him. But when they ain't riding, you like, man, you kind of get iffy. And then a couple of them that might step up, they beat them within an inch of their life just to kind of set the tone. And that's how they would put us in subjection. It says the breaking process of the African woman, but it's of the Israelites. It says, take the female and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Test her in every way because she is the most important factor for good economics. That's the thing that y'all got to understand, women. Y'all are being used. That's why it's easier for y'all to get a higher paying job than it is for your man to do. How many of y'all know that? If you don't know, live a little bit and you'll find out. They'll negotiate, which is somewhere in here we probably won't get to. They'll be willing to negotiate with you when they won't be willing to negotiate with us. Straight up. But all of this is done strategically. It says, test her in every way because she is the most important factor for good economics. If she shows any sign of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the last bit of resistance out of her. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so, you spoil good economic. When in complete submission, she will train her offsprings in the early years to submit to labor when they become of age. Understanding is the best thing. Therefore, we shall go deeper into this. Let me skip down a little bit. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from a psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. So it goes into that. It's like our young girls are being taught to be like men. You don't need no nigga. Don't let nobody do nothing for you. Go get it on your own. That's what you're supposed to be teaching your son. But you teaching your son the opposite. They switch roles. And then you wondering when your son hit age why he having such a hard time in this world getting it, because he ain't been taught. He been taught to be feminine, and your daughter's been taught to be masculine. But this was all designed to do what? To disrupt our building as a nation. And we almost done. It says, for fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offsprings to be psychologically independent. What have you got? You got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared. This is a perfect situation of sound sleep in economics. Before the breaking process, we had to be alertly on guard at all times. Now we can sleep soundly, for out of frozen fear, his woman stands guard for us. He cannot get past her early slave molding process. He is a good tool, now ready to be tied to the horse at a tender age. But by the time a nigger boy reaches the age of 16, he is soundly broken in and ready for a long life of sound and efficient work and the reproduction of a unit of good labor force. So now, let me ask you a question real quick. And this is real talk. And I'm going to be careful with this because I know some of y'all, well, you got to work. You don't work, you don't eat. How many times have we seen our young men, our men of Israel, being discouraged to go out there and truly trailblaze and go against the systematic norms and things of that nature, and told to pretty much fit in and do what everybody else is doing? They're not respected when it comes to thinking outside of the box and really trying to do things to build, you know, their own. And they're pretty much told to take the easy route and go and get a job somewhere. And I'm not saying, I'm not ragging on getting a job, because a lot of us, we got to get jobs because of our situations. But what are we teaching our kids? And what are we really saying to our Israelite men who are supposed to step back up as those men who are to be the hedges and the protection of the nation? We got to really change our mindset. So when I asked y'all that question earlier, I said, how many of y'all have Willie Lynch syndrome? I'm going to ask you one more time. How many of you guys realize that you still got some Willie Lynch syndrome in you? All right. All right. He didn't put his hand up. Put the camera on him. And then, you know, it's more to it because it also talks about the language, which, you know, we didn't have enough time to really get into, you know, the crossbreeding methods. These are the last couple of scriptures. Go to Ecclesiastes 10. Five through 7.
Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 5.
Yep.
There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceedeth from the ruler.
Go ahead.
Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place.
See, folly is all of the foolishness that you see all the time on the street and foolishness on the internet. Everybody's so concerned and have so much fun watching that crap and supporting that crap. But it says, the rich sit in low place. Not talking about the rich, like as far as who got the money, but talking about the rich that it speaks of in the book of Revelation. He says, but thou art rich. He said, I know you impoverished, but you rich. Talking about the rich in spirit, the ones who have been promised an everlasting kingdom. Go ahead.
I have seen servants upon horses, and princes walking as servants upon the earth.
And we are the princes walking as servants upon the earth. He said, how has it come to this? Last scripture, Lamentations chapter 4. I know some of y'all like, man, I'm so glad he about to shut up. How many of y'all feel like that? Hey, quiet, look, ain't none of them look up. It's the last one, Lamentations 4. I should do you like Rasha. You like one more? Lamentations chapter 4, and we're gonna get 1 through 6.
Start at 1 and read on down. You're gonna say the whole chapter.
One more.
Lamentations 4 and 1. How is the gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street.
So who's this gold? Let's find out who this gold is. Because a whole lot of y'all around here looking like fake chains. Watch this. Go ahead.
The precious sons of Zion, comparable. Who? The precious sons of Zion.
Talking about y'all. Go ahead.
Comparable to fine gold. How are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, the work of the hands of the potter?
How are you so devalued? How is it have we gotten to a point where there is no worth in the Israelite man? It's like, it's crazy because the world looks at us different than how we look at ourselves. The world looks at us like we superheroes. They look at us and they see the things that we do, just like even the music that we make. They like, man, they in awe, like, how do you guys do it? We the funniest nation on the face of this earth. We got the most style and swag on the face of this earth. We the strongest, we the most athletic, we the most beautiful. I thought that would make y'all feel better. For all of that, we look at ourselves like we ain't sugar honey iced tea. Go ahead.
Even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones.
So even the sea monsters, as cruel as they can be and cold as they can be, they still give suck to their young. They nourish their young. But read.
The daughter of my people is become cruel.
They've become cruel. They haven't always been cruel. They've become cruel. Go ahead.
Like the ostriches in the wilderness.
Go ahead.
The tongue of the sucking child cleaveth to the roof of his mouth for thirst. The young children ask bread, and no man breaketh it unto them. So what kind of thirst are we talking about? Are we just talking about real, like, water and drink and food? Are we talking about that spiritual water, that water that Yahweh Shah was speaking to that woman about, and that daily bread that Yahweh Shah spoke about? That's what our kids ain't getting enough of. We got to make sure that our kids, both men and women, we got to make sure that we're training them up and that we're giving them all the necessary things to feed their spirit. Go ahead. They that did feed delicately are desolate in the streets. They that were brought up in scarlet embrace dunghills.
You said we was brought up in scarlet, looking beautiful, looking nice, but now we embrace doo-doo. We embrace the hood. We embrace the trap. How have we? Because it's crazy. Because when you see dudes doing their videos, how many of y'all keep it real? Even if you don't do it now, you ain't far removed from watching all of the videos and all of that. Keep it 100. Raise your hand. I know y'all ain't super Hebrews. Y'all ain't too far removed from that. Now on them videos, like in a lot of the videos, the reputables, what they videos look like? What kind of scenery do they have? It be the hood. It be the trap. And you ain't nothing if, like, you can't rap with, like, Beverly Hills in back you talking about this is where I come from or the suburbs behind you. You got to come from a grimy place. And that's what he's talking about. We embrace that. We embrace dung hills. You know what dung is, right? As they would say, hoes. That's what they embrace. I ain't say it, mama. She's scrunching her face at me. I ain't say it. Go ahead.
For the punishment of the iniquity of the daughter of my people is greater than the punishment of the sin of Sodom, that was overthrown as in a moment, and no hand stayed on her.
He said, because we're in a perpetual state of going through this type of mindset. We got to rise above that. Write this down. This will be the one that I want you to write down. Write down Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 1 on down, because that's the only way that we're going to come up out this Willie Lynch syndrome. We got to keep these commandments. We got to turn away from all of this, all right? And with that, I'm going to end it. I'm going to say shalom. Shalom. All right, we got any announcements?